it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma.
All right, and we are live. Okay, guys. So the last week was like amazing. Okay, you guys saw that I was bringing on some different panelists from the Raise Your Authority Summit, and as promised, I have another one of our panelists that are going to be joining us live today, Jaime Morocco. So get excited. If you're joining me live, because I just saw a couple of you guys jump on, if you're joining me live, go ahead and just tell us where you're tuning in from. If you are brand new to my world, if you're brand new to Jaime's world, if you've never seen us before, or if you're one of our, dedicated followers, go ahead and let us know in the comments below. Also, if you're catching us on the replay, type in #replay and let us know where you're still tuning in from, right? We're going to be sharing this over on YouTube, on Instagram, and obviously here on Facebook. So we're going to have a lot of different viewers from all around the world and obviously on different platforms. So I would love to see who's actually watching this video today. So for those of you guys who are brand new to my world, you've never heard of me before, who is Chrissy Ferreira? I am the authority coach. That is what I'm known as on these internet streets, okay? I'm also the host of the Raise Your Authority Leadership Summit, which is going to be taking place on February 1st. The whole point of today's post is I want you to get of today's live is I want you to get a little taste of what to expect the day of the event. For the panelists that you've never met, I want you to get to know their story, who they serve, right? And understand, what the vibe of the event is going to be all about. If you have questions about the actual summit itself, you can go to raiseyourauthority.com, grab your regular admission or your VIP tickets. So now let's go ahead and talk about one of our 6 panelists, Jaime Morocco. So if you are a part of Jaime's world, again, drop us some hearts, drop us some emojis. Let us know that you're one of her fans, one of her followers, one of her clients, one of her friends. Let us know why you love Jaime in the comments. And then I'm going to do a little intro for her and then bring her on stage. So for those of you guys who don't know who Jaime Morocco is, she is a body transformation coach who helps women achieve their dream body permanently using science, mindset, and energetics. She went on her own body transformation journey when she was younger and has maintained her lifestyle and results for nearly 18 years. She is a NASM certified trainer, a nutrition coach, and a nutritional therapy practitioner. She has coached hundreds of women in her programs and helped them achieve their dream bodies permanently. You may have seen her featured in Pop Sugar, Insider, Univision, and Refinery 29. I personally found her over on Facebook, and I just love her content. I love her energy and her unapologetic way of talking about health. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Jaime on stage here. Hello, Jaime. Hi. Welcome to the virtual stage.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful and excited to be here.
I'm super excited to have you here. So for those of you guys who are in Jaime's world, I was actually telling Jaime backstage before we started, I don't remember how we were introduced to each other. And what's funny is there's people that you are Facebook friends with, Instagram followers, people you're following, people are following you, that it's hard, right? We meet new people every single day, but you have always stood out to me because you've always had a very unique way, the way you talk about health and your dream body, and your posts are powerful and then also very addicting to watch because I know you live in Miami, and just I love the feel and the luxe vibe of everything that you share. So you've definitely left something memorable in my mind when I think about you, right? Yeah, it's always a great thing to hear that, right? When people like, okay, what attracted you to me? How did you find my page, right? It's always exciting. So I just want to share that with you. But do us a favor. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us, who do you serve, what you do? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Yeah, definitely. So, and thank you so much for that introduction. So I'll fill some things in. So as you said, my name's Jaime. I help women all over the world achieve their most aligned body permanently. So how I got into this business is when I was younger, I felt really just like uncomfortable in my body. I was not the picture of health. I was not eating the best, and my health and my medical situation reflected that. And it really, ate away at me from not just a physical standpoint, but also mental and emotional. And I really had this identity of somebody who, like, I wasn't doing well in school. I wouldn't get the things I wanted. Like, I was really in a bad place mentally. And then one day I decided that enough was enough, and I was going to figure out how to lose this weight and feel healthy and feel better once and for all. And that was when I was 18 years old. And I lost the weight. I eventually became a personal trainer. I went back to business school for entrepreneurship. I worked out in Silicon Valley for a little while, but at the same time, I knew I always wanted to have my own health and wellness company for women. So as I was working in Silicon Valley, I started my online business, and that was in 2015. And I have been, helping women achieve their goals ever since then. So it's been, I think 7.5 years now. So it's just been such a dream for me, because as somebody who not only like has the certifications and credentials, which are great, but I've also been through the experience and I've been able to maintain my results, like being able to give that gift for people and share that and really give people a new lease on life and a new lifestyle, and just, having them feel so much better in their body. It's just like a dream come true for me. So
thank you so much for sharing that. What kind of comes to mind for me is that I love that you were able to, two things, is kind of find your passion at such a young age, right? Because I think a lot of us at 18, we don't know what we want, or we think we know what we want, but we pivot, right? So I think it's beautiful for you to have found your passion at such a young age. And then also, like, taking the things that we've struggled with, things that we weren't once good at, things that felt impossible for us, and then turning that into our new mission and being able to help other people. What would you say has been like probably the most, like, what would you say has been the best part about being able to kind of stick with this venture throughout your adulthood life? Like, do you feel like it's just you've been able to gain this experience through all these years with so much experience, or do you feel like it's just something that I was born with it and I knew that this is what I wanted from the very beginning? So, like, what has been like your favorite part about being able to stick with this one like area of focus for all of these years?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I would say I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I went to undergrad for it and I went to grad school for it. So I always knew I would work for myself. But how it sort of unfolded for me in health and wellness is I wanted to lose weight when I was 18 purely for vanity, right? And that was my goal, and I don't regret it because it got me started. And what ended up happening is I didn't know how to stop losing weight. So I lost so much weight, and then I was healthy on the other end. So then I had to actually become a personal trainer, learn about nutrition, learn about all these things, and then go on a healing journey that I didn't know that I was signing up for in the beginning. So I think it's just like business. There is no depth to health and wellness. And one of the things that I feel like I do that really make me stand out in my industry is that over the last 3 years, I've really found a way to bridge the gap between really the science of body transformation, like the workouts and the nutrition, but also like the mindset and the energetics, right? Because I feel like they right now exist in very siloed spaces. You have people that are like all about just like work out hard and like eat your protein shake and like just do it. And then you have the camp that's like, well, just like think about it and like meditate on a cloud. And like, I think that there is so much power in both of those areas. Same in business, right? We need a strategy, but we also need our belief. So I do that for the body transformation space. And when that really clicked for me like 3 years ago, that's really how I feel like I found so much of my authority, which I know this whole, summit is all about. And that's when I really started to step into like my most powerful voice.
I love that. I know that, for people who are watching here today, I know I have a lot of people in my world that are in the health industry. And I know it can be a challenging industry to be in, right? Because especially like here in the States, we've got we've got a lot of health issues going around in the States, right? And there's always going to be people like in our inbox that are, we've got those other people who are like in MLMs, or people that are like pushing product, pushing pills, right? So we can definitely create some like negativity around some of the health industry, right? So what do you feel like has been a big challenge of yours being in this specific industry, and how do you feel like you've overcome it?
I think a big challenge for me in the beginning was like, how do I actually stand out? Like, what makes me different from the thousands of other trainers out there who are great, trainers and great at what they do, but like, why would somebody, want to hire me? And that's where I really think, everything that I teach from like a strategy standpoint is all based in science. So and not only is it based in science, it's something that I tried on myself, that I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times with other people. And it's backed by data. So it's not something where I'm like, oh, I just grew up fit my whole life and like, this sounds cool, let's try it. This is, my work is a result of me being on my own journey for 18 years, being a coach for nearly 15 years, and helping, everybody else. So I think that going back to your question, the hardest thing to overcome is definitely like carving out your brand and your identity, because I never believe that like a market is oversaturated. I really just think that it's about you become the brand and you become the differentiator, but then you have to find out what about you is differentiating.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely something that's a question that comes up a lot, regardless of the industry, whether it's health, whether you are a graphic designer, whether you are selling sneakers, right? It's how can you stand out amongst the rest, right? And this goes aligned with authority as well, like in positioning yourself as an expert. It's not about how can you like verbally say how much better you are than everybody else. It's not about that, right? It's not about constantly saying like, yes, I personally think, if you can own that you're the best at what you do, I think the confidence goes a long way, right? I think that everyone should be allowed to and should confidently own the fact that no one does what they do better than you, because no one can do it like you, right? And as cliche as that sounds, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners definitely do struggle with that, because they're constantly comparing themselves to other people, and there's certain factors about someone else's business or whatever they're doing that you think that you're not as good as, right? But there's always going to be things that you do that no one else can do them like you, right? So that there's that one piece, but also is the more you focus on how you can stand out and be your own brand, do things your own way, the less you're going to find yourself comparing yourself to other people, because you're going to be so different. Your strategy, the way you show up online, your branding, whatever, it's going to be so completely different than what the other person is doing, that even if you feel like there's areas that they're doing well, you're not going to compare yourself to them because it is so uniquely different, right? And I think that is one thing I admired about you, is that the way you position and the way you talk about health and the way you help your clients, it's not very stereotypical of what I would consider like a health coach or a fitness instructor or anyone that like that industry. I wouldn't compare it. I have no one else to compare you to, right? Because you are so uniquely different. And I think that that's what makes you stand out so well, right? And I think that's why, me personally, from an outsider's perspective, why you've been able to really position yourself as an authority in that field. And we'll dive into that topic a little bit more. I do have a question for you. So what do you feel like has been your biggest drive, I guess, to stay in this specific industry, because you have so much experience, because you've been in this industry for so long? What do you feel like has been like your biggest drive to continue on this path? Because as business owners, we pivot a lot, right? And I know you've pivoted and pivoted and pivoted throughout the years, right? But what would you say has been kind of like your biggest drive to stay in this specific industry?
I would say that I just don't see anybody owning the space that does what I do, meaning like combining, more of the science elements with the spiritual elements. And I think that because that is so powerful, and because to me that's the only way to achieve permanent body transformation, is to have a strategy and also trust yourself. Like I just feel like it's like I can't stop. Like I've never even considered like, hey, like maybe I should, go into this industry or that industry. It's just always been really clear for me that the brand will grow. There might be, different products and services and things like that, but the mission remains the same, because as it stands now, about 97% of people who lose weight gain it back. So that's like a systemic issue, right? That's like a macro problem. It's not a problem with like, oh, like a few programs out there or a few people who just can't get their stuff together. It's not about that. It's about that the most of the population doesn't have good information about what it means to actually lose weight, and not just lose it, but keep it off. And what I want to do through my brand and through my company is help women have access to that information, so that they feel empowered, so that they understand how they can have a piece of chocolate cake and still reach their goals or maintain it, so that they're not only achieving the body that feels the best for them, but also like they're not afraid of food, right? So that's really what drives me. And especially having been through that for half of my life, I know what's on the other side of that, and it completely changed my life. So
I love that. And that's a beautiful way to explain that, because I think that something that people need to understand is that your goals in your business, your plans, whatever, there needs to be a mission and there needs to be a vision aligned with that, right? And this is not getting super spiritual manifestation vibes type of thing. It's just a fact, is that, things are going to be hard in your business. There's going to be people online that are going to make you question yourself. Am I on the right path? Is this something I see myself continuing to do? And that's why your vision and your mission need to be bigger than yourself, because that's going to be the drive that keeps you going every single day. And if you love what you do, it's going to be even more of a push to keep going. So I love that. I think that was beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. I do have one more question for you, which you started to touch on earlier, but obviously with this whole authority event that we have going on, I'd love to know if there was like a specific turning point in your business where you feel like you were able to really position yourself as an authority. And then on top of that, how do you feel that has impacted your business growth throughout the years?
Yeah, I would say, I had a multiple six-figure business before this, but I think this is the thing that really took it to the next level. When we moved to Miami, that was just such a brand pillar move for me, because, we were in Boston before, and I had still grown my business to like almost $500,000 a year, and I was doing really well. But from a branding perspective and from like an authoritative perspective, I think us moving here and me using my environment as a part of my brand was really huge. Now, this doesn't mean that people have to get up and move somewhere, but it was really hard for me living in Boston I just never felt aligned with where I was living. So now that I feel totally aligned with where I live, it really has made my brand come alive. So whenever, people, hear my name and they've at least seen one of my posts, like you said, they identify with like the beach view or the view of my treadmill looking over the ocean. Like these are the things that stand out in their mind. And I think because of that powerful move of literally us changing locations, it really has up-leveled my brand to only reflect more of what I was already feeling. So
I mean, I can totally understand. I live in Rhode Island, and so there's snow outside. And so I can, me with the turtleneck and you wearing, the summer vibe clothes, I can understand the wanting to move down south, first of all. And then second of all, I think just embodying your brand in general, right? And your environment does play a huge part of the way you show up online. If you're not happy in the home that you live, if you feel like your office space is too small, if you feel like your space is too chaotic, of course you're not going to show up at a certain level, right? Which is why a lot of people will do co-oping spaces outside of their home, right? If they can't work from home. If you feel like if you're not happy in the neighborhood that you live in, then it's going to affect the way you show up. Of course, you're not going to show Instagram stories behind the scene because you're embarrassed or you're unhappy with your lifestyle, right? So I love that, because you're able to kind of like create and visually show the life that that you desire with your audience, right? And you include them in your everyday life, which I think humanizes you a lot more, which I think is really important when you're positioning yourself as a leader, because I think a lot of us can attest to this, that when you get to a certain stance in your business and people view you as an authority, you are a leader, right? People look to you for guidance. People look to you as the go-to person. And as a leader, I think there is a certain responsibility that is kind of put on us. And I think that you've done a really great job at doing that, right? Is telling people, if you're unhappy with where you live, if your space, go live the life that you desire, have this dream body and show it off in one of the most beautiful places in the States, So I really love that. And thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course. If it's okay, I'll just add one thing.
Yeah,
I can already feel some of the newbies who might be listening being like, oh my God, I don't love my house or whatever. Put this out there. I grew in 2018, my business did 50, and I'm just sharing revenue because it helps us understand growth, right? Yep. So in 2018, my business did 55,000 in revenue. And then in 2019, I did 250. So I grew on a 4.5x multiple, and I was living with my parents, with my husband. So I just want people to understand that, don't use your environment as a reason why you cannot achieve growth, because you are the magic pill. But we cannot argue with the fact that sometimes in your journey, changing your environment can help propel you to the next level. So I just wanted to put that out there. So I didn't want anyone to think oh my God, I have to move to Miami now. You can create success wherever you want, as long as you're driven. But, as you build your brand, and, I don't think that anybody who's beginning needs to do this, but as you build your brand, just having your environment be an extension of you is really powerful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have another panelist that we're going to be bringing on later on the week, and she'll be sharing her story. But one of our panelists, I believe she was homeless back in 2018, right? And she ended up moving in with a friend in 2019, and she lived in her friend's spare bedroom, and she'll share the story. But I think sometimes when other people share your story, it's amazing to hear when she watches this. So I'm sure she'll appreciate it. But she lived with a friend, and she built her first 6-figure year that year, living in a spare bedroom that her friend offered to her when she was homeless. And then she moved into a small apartment after that, and she was able to build her next multiple 6-figure year from her kitchen table. She did all of her calls. She put a cute little background behind her, right? Because you can create an environment in any space. You can have the tiniest little beat down room or whatever, and you could put something behind you that makes you feel like $1 million. You know what I mean? And you can create the environment that you want. But she put something really nice behind her. She did all her coaching calls at the kitchen table, and like I said, built her first multiple 6-figure year. And she's still doing that. I think she uses her spare bedroom right now, right? And so that is so true. And I think that people can get very discouraged by those types of things. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because sometimes, and that's one of the reasons why I want to put together this event, was because it is so easy to look at people where they're at now and forget the journey along the way. And because it wasn't like you woke up one day and you had the dream body and you had the house or apartment in Miami, right? It took time, right? There were things that you had to go through that if someone's brand new to your page, they just see the outcome of the struggle or the growth phase, right, that you went through. And that's one of the things that I want to bring to light in the leadership summit that we're hosting. Is you're going to hear Jamie's and other people's stories talking about, everyone has a different journey to success, right? And success is an ever growing thing. It doesn't ever end. There is no limitation to what you can have. But also knowing that these people have different backgrounds, they had different limitations set on them, and different industries can lead to different results or the same results. But there's a common denominator in a lot of you ladies that I have on the panel. And that was one of the things that I wanted to share, was that you've all found your way of really positioning yourself outside of the box from different people in your industry. You found your unique way of sharing your gifts and supporting your clients. You've literally positioned yourself as experts. You've literally positioned yourself as leaders and authorities in your industry in a beautiful way. And you all love to see other women win, right? And so bringing you all together in this one space and allowing people to actually be in the room, because even sometimes people can feel untouchable, like I can't afford to work with her, or I'm not at that level yet to be able to work with her. I wanted to create a space where they can get in the room with all of you and hear the stories, hear the milestones that you had to go through to get where you are today, to humanize the whole process and to ask the questions that have been burning in their brains. How can I position myself as an expert? How can I raise my authority? How can I become a leader in my industry? And that's what the summit is all about. So I'm glad that you brought up that point. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So for those of you guys who want to be in Jamie's world, you want to ask about how to actually work with her, I did attach her Instagram to the top of this, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, and then on Instagram, you can go ahead and go to raiseyourauthority.com. We'll actually be adding a link very soon over the next week where you can actually hit all of our speakers and our panelists social media links and websites to actually figure out how you can actually work with them outside of seeing them at the summit as well. So and of course, if anyone has any questions about the event, you can email me at contactchrissie.com or just go ahead and grab your ticket and join us on February 1st. So thank you so much, Jamie, again for jumping on today, and thank you guys so much for watching. Until later, bye.